They do. Speaking of the Biden family trust, let's throw to a little screen share. I'm going to shift gears here, and I'm going to talk to you. I'm going to tie back to you why everything that the government tells you is a lie. And you've heard before, you've heard that Ukraine is the most corrupt government on planet Earth, but you've never really heard the figures. So I want you to listen very closely to this guy when he explains exactly what the Ukrainians are doing and exactly how much money is going out in this corruption. It's just absolutely shocking. And the title of the video is "Shocking Moment." And the Ukrainians are there to defend themselves. So I just want to play this. This is just from literally a couple of days ago, from 4 days ago. And so the prosecutor general, the Ukrainian prosecutor general, that is, asked point blank about Hunter Biden and Burisma. So let's throw to the video and check this out. Let me just fix the speed because she's on 2 speed. I'll just dial it back a bit for the people listening on our podcast. And here we go.
We now proceed to Congressman Scott Perry of Pennsylvania.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. And thank you, Prosecutor General, for being here. It's going to be hard for any of us to hold the sovereign nation of Russia or its leader accountable. We need to try and do that. In the meantime, what we can do is make sure that we are on our best behavior. And as you probably know, in America, yesterday was tax day. Americans are forced to send in their hard-earned dollars, oftentimes for things they don't agree with. It's in total about $30 billion in humanitarian aid that we have sent to Ukraine. And I just want to run through a series of dates and reports for you. In 2011, a report by The Atlantic said that citizens of Ukraine thought that bribes were customary and expected. In 2011, the president of Ukraine stated that bribes and corruption cost the country about $2.5 billion, or 10 to 15% of the country's budget. In 2016, a report indicated that between 38 and 42% reported paying a bribe to access basic public services. In 2022, the former head of the Asset Recovery and Management Agency was charged with embezzling $10.6 million in funds. And in 2022, the National Corruption Bureau of Ukraine observed and noted corruption remained common at all levels in the executive, legislative, and judicial branches. Sir, we want to make sure that all our money is safeguarded and that we're not involved not only in losing that money that the American taxpayer works hard for, but in the corruption itself. And I want to bring another series of events to you. The UK Serious Fraud Office froze $23 million of a guy named Zlochevsky's assets. He was in charge of Burisma. On April 13th of 2014, there was Hunter Biden said the contract should start now, not after the upcoming visit of my guy, his guy being the vice president of the United States. On April 22nd of the same year, Hunter and Archer said that Ukraine must understand the value of Burisma. And on May 12th of 2014, Hunter Biden said started working for the Burisma board at $83,000 in change per month. On May 12th, Zlochevsky's envoy said, use your influence to combat the Ukrainian government's allegations against Burisma. George Kent from our embassy told the DOJ that Burisma paid $7 million in bribes to prosecutors to kill the investigation into bribes for gas and oil permit license. February 10th, 2015, Urema replaced by Viktor Shokin. And then a Soros-funded activist group called the Anti-Corruption Action Center, which is ironic, said that Shokin was not pursuing Zlochevsky, which of course was absolutely not the case, because on February 2nd of the same year, Viktor Shokin issued arrest warrants for Zlochevsky and wanted to seize his assets. And then on February 12th of 2016, President Biden called then President Poroshenko. And then on February 17/18 of 2016, literally 10 days later or thereabouts, Viktor Shokin, the prosecutor general, was fired. May 13th of 2016, Joe Biden, the president, now vice president then, tells President Poroshenko that $1 billion in loan guarantees would be forthcoming. And then in the intervening time, then Vice President Biden went before the Council on Foreign Relations and announced that I told him they had to fire the prosecutor general, or they want to get the loan guarantees. And what do you know? Son of a bitch, the prosecutor was fired. And then in April of 2020, Viktor Shokin was formally recorded as the victim of an alleged crime by former Vice President Joe Biden. So, sir,
I want to stop the stream there because it just really, when I was just like gobsmacked. I watched that video like 2 or 3 times when I first heard it. So I'm watching everything at 2 speed, right? I'm trying to catch up to the time when I dialed it back and I dialed it back again. And I'm like, when they lay it out in a timeline like that, because he's reading off a document of dot points, right? And on this date and this time, this is what happened. But when you listen to what he's saying, like corruption is systemic throughout Ukraine. And what I haven't played in that video, and I'll link the video down below so you can watch that in your own time, but the Ukrainian prosecutor general there is trying to defend himself, saying, we got rid of all those people. We defended that. That's not happening. And then the poor old American guy is like, well, what guarantees can you give me that it won't happen again? It's like, well, we got rid of everybody. but sorry. Not even saying sorry, not even held to account, nothing that they can do to actually make this happen. And what I wanted to do is just to highlight the hypocrisy of our society is that we literally send billions and billions of dollars of military aid to a place like Ukraine. But on top of all of that support, their infrastructure is being completely destroyed. And now countries around the world, virtually all of them, there's 100 and something countries around the world, are pledging to commit literally hundreds of billions of dollars to rebuild the place. And now we're funding their government because the war has completely depleted their treasury. And that's actually what happens in a war. Fair enough, they need help. They've completely depleted their treasury. So there's no money to pay for social services or social security. So now the American government is propping up the Ukrainian social security and their pension funds. Meanwhile, back home in America, your banks are failing. This crime is out of control in America, and you have these incredible social problems there. And everybody just goes, well, the budget is like this many $1 trillion, and it's a small investment there. And if we don't spend the money there, then Putin's going to be in Poland before you know it, and then we're going to be at war with them. We better stop it in Ukraine before it actually happens. And when you stand back and look at it, what I think is, I think this whole thing is a ruse. It's been going on since 2014 when the Russians took back Crimea, and then now they're arming them. And what they're doing is systematically trying to destroy Ukraine completely and then build a buffer zone between Ukraine and Russia. And then all of these banksters are going to go in there, spend gazillions of dollars and make gazillions of dollars. To your point, Ed, you're saying, all these weapon companies in Taiwan go, what do you need? A cruise missile? Do you need what? A T-LAM? Do you need a harpoon? What do you need? I got it. That's what's happening. And you look at it and you go, what is this all for money? This is not a fight about land. And these American politicians don't care about land. They care about the destruction of the Russian economy and so-called de-Baathification of Russia. That's what they called it in Iraq. There's only one party in Iraq, the Baath Party, and Paul Bremer went in there and went, no, we're not finished here. We're going to have to de-Baathification of Iraq. Otherwise, they'll come back and it'll be bigger and worse than what it was. And that was the most categorical mistake in modern history. That idiot Paul Bremer was never held to account. He was never dragged in front of a committee and said, why did you do that? Why did you say that? Why did you let that happen? He just, oh, sorry, man. Sorry about that. But in the process, he got paid millions and millions of dollars and probably siphoned off and skimmed off millions of dollars in the process. I don't know. I don't have evidence of that, but somebody in a position like that is probably doing it. And now the same playbook is going on right here in Ukraine, and they're trying to do it with Russia. It's just not going to work. It's an absolute travesty, and it's an absolute disaster. And it's like the countries of the world and the corrupt politicians of the world are positioning themselves to come in and swoop over the top and take what they need to take from Ukraine once all this is said and done. But it's at the cost of Ukrainian lives. And I said earlier in my opening remarks that politicians don't care about you or me, and they don't care about freedom either. That's all bullshit. It's complete bullshit. The only people that really care about you and me and freedom are the people that serve in the military, because they're the ones putting their life on the line, and they have to care. And I know that because I've been there on the sharp end of that pointy, very, very pointy spear. When you put your life on the line and it's your life or that other person's life, you suddenly care, and you're deeply patriotic, and you care about the people to your left and your right. But those politicians are sitting in an office like never in that position. They don't have adrenaline coursing through their veins. They're not looking down the barrel of a rifle at somebody else. It's just unbelievable. They don't care about you or me. All they care about is holding on to power and making as much money as possible so they can stay in power as long as possible. And that video just highlights it in absolute clarity.